Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. India nowadays has a new controversy. And the controversy is regarding a BBC documentary. The government has banned and ordered the social media like YouTube and Twitter to and they have removed it. But the opposition parties in India they need a stick to beat the government with. And the point is that it's a documentary, and why should it be banned? That's a so much so that the case has gone to the Supreme Court of India, and Supreme Court once again has started interfering in what is a purely executive matter, which has nothing to do with either the rights or with the Constitution. Now, let me be very clear. I fully agree that any documentary, if it's factual, and even if it's not factual, because 90% of the social media documentaries are absolutely based on lunatic imagination. And this BBC documentary is not about 2002 riots. No. It's wrong to call it a documentary about 2002 riots. It's about an individual and his culpability that was never proved. After years of investigation, charges, the man was not found guilty by the court, by the High Court, by the Supreme Court. So, raking it up again with inputs only from the known Modi haters, the BBC film has been dismissed as witch hunt and propaganda against the duly elected Prime Minister of a country which is called the world's largest democracy. Now, if the government doesn't ban other documentaries, which are not correct, there are about 26 TV channels in India which are nothing but blabbering idiocy, just blabbering idiocy. And if they are pro-BJP, they are poisonous the other parties, and if they are in favor of the opposition, then they are poisonous against the government. And the government is banning. So by banning, people know the facts, and they would take it with a pinch of salt. Coming from a nation, but then the other point which concerns people is that BBC is supposed to be a very authentic news agency, which it is not. I'll tell you, it was the summer of 1970. BBC broadcast two documentary films. One was Calcutta, the other was Phantom India. And that caused outrage. Where? Among the Indian diaspora and with the Indian government. Mrs. Gandhi was annoyed like hell. And it was a pure negative depiction of India and was dispelled from India in 1972. It depicted only poverty and despair. Even though India had come a long way when the British left India in despair and poverty in 47. But Mrs. Gandhi took action but didn't ban it in 1995. Charar Sharif Mosque in Kashmir Valley was burned down by the terrorists. Now look, people who say that is dependable, BBC aired footage of the Russian tanks in Chechnya in its reportage, and that created an impression that this was Indian Army use of tanks which had damaged the shrine. Juxtaposing Russian tanks along with Charar Sharif was the height of yellow journalism. And can you imagine Government didn't take any action. This was a deception. In fact, BBC has consistently reported several fabricated stories from Kashmir. I met an Englishman in Nainital once. He had come to see Jim Corbett's home and he had brought to us. He told us that he worked for BBC. So I knew Mark Tully very well, so I asked him, what do you people do honestly? He was in the policy making department of the BBC, a senior official. And he said that he was disgusted because they had done a false documentary on Kaziranga Game Reserve. When he was talking to me, I said, do you think it's justified? He said, no. No, in that documentary, they gave a one-sided view of the forest rangers killing poachers. And it had to be banned because the whole system was being destroyed. And it was banned from all Indian game sanctuaries for 5 years. Then, in BBC gave a written apology to the Indian government and they again started reporting. Now that was done. They admitted that it was false. And they were presenting that it was the forest rangers killing innocent people. And it was absolutely wrong. That documentary was banned only, but not because it blamed one individual, it blamed the whole setup. Now, ban may be debatable, but as on date, it's a hard reality. This ban on documentary is debatable. People can say because it doesn't concern the government. It's not the chief minister who has been blamed, it's Narendra Modi who has been blamed. So Narendra Modi should file a defamation suit against him. That's okay. Banning it wouldn't help. Freedom of expression, as envisaged in the Indian Constitution, is an individual right. And if anyone sees it in personal benefit, it may be justified. But then, personal public screening as an organized event, that is definitely not welcome, not acceptable. As a matter of fact, what the Students' Union, left-oriented ones, and the communal ones are doing they are trying to have a public display. Now, nobody has banned it on internet. They can watch it. You can watch it on iPlayer. There is no ban on that. So you can watch in a custody, but why do it publicly? Publicly, in fact, what you are doing is propagating a falsehood. And in fact, it's a contempt of court as far as the India people are concerned. And if the government starts prosecuting them, there will be thousands of people who will be prosecuting. And then, again, BBC, Oxfam, Amnesty International, they'll start crying, cribbing, look here, injustice has been done. Let's not deny the fact that any perception that's publicly organized event to screen the documentary as a right is not acceptable. Right is not of a crowd, right is of an individual. So an individual can watch it, there's no ban on that, then they should not. But public display is definite. And let's be clear, as I said, there was a time when BBC was acceptable, it was honest, it was disinterested. Now it's absolutely anti-India. As a matter of fact, I call BBC unreliable, dishonest, unauthentic, biased. So it's a biased broadcasting corporation. Fine. Ignore it. As a matter of fact, by public banning, government hasn't done anything wrong. It has actually stopped the defamation of an individual, which is right. But at the same time, government should have taken it with a lightly and ignored it. If I was there, we ignored it when they produced Calcutta. We ignored it, and then India has a history of banning. Why did the government under Pandit Nehru ban satanic verses? Even Naraj Chaudhary's Continent of Satya was banned at one time. Government of India banned satanic verses, and this all. And then before that, Lady Chatterley's Lover was banned. Isn't that a attack on the freedom of speech and expression and reading? And those parties which are blaming this government today were the parties which banned. So it is a personal decision. And as I said, this ban is on the public display, not on the private display. The reality is that by public display, you are going against the law of the land and you are liable for legal action. Now, the documentary's motives are questionable. It leaves many fundamental questions unanswered. I have seen it. It is a diatribe, it's an insult, it is a defamatory. It's not a truthful, balanced presentation of events, characters, and outcomes as they unfolded. It is just targeting Narendra Modi. That's it. Why don't they make a documentary on 1984 killing of the Sikhs and blame Rajiv Gandhi? Because there is a understanding that we have to condemn conservative approaches. These ultra-leftists is basically an ideological war. If action is taken by the communists or by the Congress, okay, let's keep quiet. If it's taken by BJP, it's bad. Same as was in USA. Trump took a decision that has to be criticized. Obama gave him a Nobel Prize. So, given the magnitude of 2002 Gujarat riots, there are many individuals, both political and communal, who were to be blamed. And any summarization of that but the handiwork of one person is pure defamation, nothing more. Many individuals, Muslims and Hindus, have been convicted based on hard evidence. But the man targeted in the documentary was exonerated by the nation's highest court after years of trial. So the motives are questionable, definitely. The timing of the release of the documentary is also very pertinent. Now let's be very clear. Why was this documentary not produced when the riots took place? It has been produced 20 years after the activity took place. The answer is obvious. The coming 24 national elections have to be influenced. And what better way than to show that he is a butcher, he is a killer of the innocent people, he is a murderer. What Sonia Gandhi says, Maut ka Saudagar, the merchant of death. It's absolutely no secret that his leadership, stature, vision has annoyed the other politicians in India and also their mentors in the West. But nobody can question his unquestionable commitment to make the nation strong and successful. What's wrong with that? He is making the country powerful economically, military, and socially. And then he is not a shyester. He is not shy of treading on the toes of those who do not share the same zeal or the same vision. And this goes against the dubious agenda of the detractors. And therefore, this sabotage movie documentary was produced. This is just one. We'll see many more. NDTV produced it earlier. Hindu and Kumar, they are out and out. There's a wire which is out and out. And as I said, they are pro BJP who are out and out, outrageously psychopath. Now let's be very clear. The documentary has nothing to do with bringing out the truth of the riots or to prove the complicity of those who are charged with instigating the riots. It's just targeting Modi. If truth was paramount, the cause of the riot, the deliberate Godhra train burning, should have been the starting point of the documentary. It is not. In that burning, 59 Hindus, including women and children, were killed in cold blood, burnt to ashes. This horrendous act was a hard reality, and the perpetrators have been convicted by the courts. And this was the root cause of the Gujarat riots that followed. But the makers of the documentary ignored the same in their wisdom or lunacy. Coming back to the organized screening by some people in the country, like in JNU, in Jamia Millia, Osmania, Hyderabad and Yadavpur, Calcutta, and in Kerala, they are at the forefront misplaced exercise of freedom of expression. Now, the question arises, is there a common thread among the four? Perhaps there is some sort of leftist leaning, establishment bashing, and unbridled support of the Muslim minority. Right or wrong notwithstanding. It is SFI, Student Federation of India, and other opposition parties which are organizing it. The aim is to create an environment where these students' unions and the ones affiliated to BJP confront each other. The resultant violence and the dirty political rhetoric that follows ensures that the nation, the government, and the majority can be shown in bad fight, both internally and externally. This is a biased one. Notwithstanding all this, those who wish to see the movie have a right of access to watch it. They'll be put off if they trust in the national judicial system make the unbiased assessment. So either you say the Supreme Court was wrong or you say it's right. But if you ignore that, then that's fine. Now let's not forget that BBC is funded by the government. It's not an independent body. So today it has a Prime Minister who is of the Indian origin, and he rejected the movie. The Prime Minister of UK has rejected the movie. But still I would not reject it. I would also not ban it. I'll ignore it with the contempt it deserves. Let's not forget that history would judge people whether they're right or wrong. Fine, normative and ethical standards say it's bad. But as I said, it's not just one rotten act. There are scores of acts. So the best thing is let the individual decide. But public display, definitely no. Thank you.